What's up, everybody? It's your 5-star realtor Joshua Ingram, partnered with Page Properties team, brokered by EXP. We're on another episode of a brand new podcast called The Dream Builders Podcast. We're in Las Vegas at EXP Con. I have a special guest, Toni Patillo. Right?
That's correct.
That's correct. How you doing, Miss Toni?
Hi, how are you?
Doing good. I
Thank
can't
you.
leave out the man of the hour, my co-host Bradford Page with Page Properties.
This is the famous Toni.
Yeah, the famous, the famous.
She's got so much stuff to share with us right
For sure, for sure.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here, honestly.
Absolutely.
For sure. So, Miss Toni, I seen you yesterday at our private event. You know, I'm a newer agent, right?
Yes, yes.
So I have a question for you. My first question would be, I understand that you specialize in distressed properties. How did you get started?
Well, that's a great question. You know, back in 2006, I had several clients who were starting to experience the tightening of the market.
Mm-hmm.
And this one particular client, this was my very first short sale. And nobody knew anything about short sales. Nobody knew what we were dealing with. And
We heard the words, but we didn't know.
but we didn't know in depth what was involved, you know. So my client was in some trouble, and I actually called the bank because she needed to sell, but she owed more on her property than what it was worth. So when you talk about a short sale, what that is getting permission from the bank to sell the property for less than what it's valued at. And that means there's going to be a deficiency, okay? And we basically, at that time, believe it or not, Bradford, the banks were writing up notes for the deficiencies. They weren't writing off the deficiencies in the beginning. So that meant if you're selling your property for less than what you owe and there's a deficiency of $100,000, then there would be a promissory note that would have to be signed so that they could sell the property, but you still responsible for that $100,000, and they'd work out a payment plan with you.
Oh, wow.
That's not a great benefit.
No, but that quickly changed because suddenly all these people were experiencing the same thing. By 2007, we were in the heat of a crashing market.
And the banks don't want the houses.
And the banks don't want the houses. They don't want to have to deal with the moving of the homes, right? So they started programs where they would allow the deficiency to be forgiven. And as we got deeper and deeper and deeper into the distressed space, they then started working with giving people moving money. Because, you know, a lot of these people were having problems, but they didn't have a way.
Cash for keys.
Yeah, it was a type of cash for keys. Well, and it wasn't really a cash. Yeah, I guess you could call it a cash for keys. They gave them money to be able to move and kind of get themselves started somewhere else. It wasn't a lot of money, but you know, at that time it was like $10,000.
If you got no money, that's a lot of money.
It's better, yeah, that's a lot of money. You know, eventually it got to a point where they were gifting $30,000, $40,000 that we were able to get for these homeowners. So that's how, to answer your question, we kind of fell into it. And of course, most agents didn't want to deal with short sales. Nolly Williams in Austin, Texas, was also dealing with this short sale thing. And then he started to write, he wrote a program, he wrote a book. And I'll never forget it because I bought the book because I wanted to learn from it myself. We actually all studied under a couple. I think that couple is with EXP today. Harris, I can't remember her name right now, but it's a husband and wife team.
Right.
And
they're out of California.
And they're out of California.
Matter of fact, when I saw that they moved to EXP, that got my attention. I was like, ooh, I know these people.
Yes.
Why are they going there? What's going on?
Tim and Robin Harris?
Yep.
Isn't that their names?
I think it was Tim. I don't remember her name right.
Yeah.
That's shame on me for not
Well,
remembering.
shame on all of us. Okay, so bottom line.
Some of the best trainers out there, though.
Some of the best trainers out there in the distress space. So Nolly studied under them. We studied under Nolly. Then I started teaching, and then Kevin and Fred out of Arizona.
Yeah.
So that's how we all know each other.
Okay.
Kevin and Fred were
Tim and Julie.
Tim and Julie Harris.
Yeah.
That's exactly correct. Tim and Julie Harris are the ones that started educating us on the whole distress space, particularly short sales. And then Kevin and Fred were out of Arizona.
There were a lot of ways, and pardon for interrupting, but a lot of ways you could get your client in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
If you didn't cross the T's and dot the I's.
Absolutely.
And make sure the bank put that phrase in there, settled as agreed, so they couldn't chase you 10 years from now.
That's right. Very good point. There are a lot of logistics and there's a lot of details that have to be covered. So this is a situation where you have to document everything that you're doing, especially when you're calling these banks. I'll never forget the people that worked in my office. I was with Keller Williams at the time, and I had about 300 agents working under my license at that time, and they would see me there during the day, and then I'd be there up until 1, 2, 3 in the morning. And the reason is I was dealing with a bank that was in India, and their hours were completely different from our hours, but I needed to be able to talk to certain negotiators, certain people in the bank, in order to negotiate the short sales. And I'd gotten to a point where I'd started to get to know who was who, and I would deal with certain people. So I would often be working at 1 o'clock in the morning in the office, calling the bank, negotiating a short sale.
And how about the faxes we'd have to send?
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
And the fax machine would kick out halfway through, and you'd have to start the whole thing.
And you have to start all over.
That's the first time I hired my first assistant.
Oh my goodness!
I'm not dealing with all this paperwork.
Well, not only that, you had to write the loan number
on every page.
Yep. And then, don't miss anything, because then it would go into what I call the black hole.
Yeah.
Okay. So
they find reasons to kick out that file and go to the next one, because their files on their desks, I'm sure, were a nightmare.
Yeah, they were a nightmare. So it was a really interesting learning process. It was a grueling process to get through. You never knew when it was going to close, if it was going to close. You know, sometimes you'd have to get permission. You had to have an approved short sale before you could close the transaction.
Yeah, and the buyers had to be patient.
The buyers had to be extremely patient. And so what ended up happening, I don't know what mastermind we were in yesterday. I think it was the Kevin and Fred mastermind, where we talked about the fact that 50% of my business came from referrals from other agents who didn't want to deal with short sales. So I started a company called LA City Short Sales. And with that company, I ended up hiring 2 licensed agents that were negotiators who came into the team, and they just were there to negotiate the deals. And then I had in-house TCs to make sure that those short sale files were tight and that they were, flawless, because we didn't want anything falling out, right? And then myself, and this is before Zoom, I would say 65 to 70% of my listings were out of the area. They were anywhere in the state of California, because I'm licensed in California. But I didn't see most of those properties. But I would have a partner in each city, in each little community, who would show the properties for me. They would do the inspections. They would be there. They would service it, in other words. And I would give them a piece of the deal. So it became a very lucrative business, because we were dealing with volume.
Yeah.
And we had so many agents who literally did not want to deal with the short sale. So every time you turned around, we're getting another referral.
Well, I wish I knew you back then, because you learned to collaborate, to grow, and scale way back in the day when people weren't even thinking about that stuff.
That's
so that's amazing. Now, short sales are probably in our past, hopefully, although similar types of concepts are really important.
Yeah.
And the most important concept is have an agent who is willing to dig deeper and not be at the surface. Buyers right now, one of the things we talked about at the mastermind was who benefits from this market that we're in right now. Well, cash buyers, duh, of course they are, but they're not all over the place. But I think, and I didn't get a chance to really get into it, but I think it's the agents who know how to be creative and do these other ways of doing business, and their clients are going to benefit, because there's less competition, because there's not as many of us who are willing to go that extra mile, do the short sales. That's what made my business. I had just gotten into business, just started getting up to speed, and that hit. And thank God for short sales and half sales, which with the military, I was able to help a lot of families.
Wow.
And it also, when everybody else kind of scooted off and they didn't want to do that business, wasn't smart enough to scale it like y'all did. And that's a great lesson for future business. But you know, being able to go that extra mile and willing to do that for your clients is cool. So.
Well, it's you know, it's all about service first. My first objective is what can I do to ease this? You know, people were going through circumstances that they'd never dealt with before, and it was grueling.
And bad things happen to good people. They would, you know, they're embarrassed, they're upside. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say. The emotions that come up, you've got anger, you've got embarrassment,
Denial.
you've got denial,
Yeah.
and then you've got just straight up pissed off, you know.
Right, this world's killing me. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So our job is to, you know, really support them through these very uncomfortable circumstances and help them not only just, this doesn't stop when you make the sale. We've got to make sure that they get to the other side and that we stay in touch with them and we stay close to them so that they can recover.
Yeah.
So I created a little documentary back in those days. It's called The Road to Recovery, The Path to Recovery Now. And it's on YouTube. And it's about a 15-minute documentary.
I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's relevant today. Even though it was done back in 2011.
And even though it's not short sales, so a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah.
And it's not just short sales, but it's also you deal a lot with the after 50. And we talked about
50
that.
plus, yeah.
The 50 plus, and you know, looking out for your clients as human beings.
Yes.
Is the difference of really going that extra mile, because whatever it is, there's emotion involved. Anytime you've got a lot of money, you got a place somebody's lived their whole life and are invested emotionally into, there's, you know, especially like the after 50s, what's their next step? So
it's very interesting that we segue into that because that's exactly
I wanted to do that because I
happened.
know that's really close to your heart.
It's super close to my heart, and you know, my coach back in those days when we were doing heavy short sales, he said to me, "Toni, I'm proud of you. You're doing a great job. You're helping a lot of people, but this isn't going to last forever. Our values are going to come back, and then what are you going to do when this short sale thing is not here?"
Diversify.
Yes, and I said, well, I'm going to get back to you, but I know that there's a next move here. And what I did is I went to very much like this convention. I went to a convention back then. It was in 2013, if I want to, because we were just finishing the tail off of those short sales. 2013, I went to a conference, and there was a breakout session that was called Amplify Your Business with Baby Boomer Listings. And I thought, I'm a baby boomer. So what are they talking about? Well, it just so happened that from 2003, I was caring for my mother. She was 83, and I moved her from Washington State with me. She had to have open heart surgery. We had to have a live-in nurse. And then, you know, I'm in the thick of caregiving, right? And I went to that breakout session. And I looked in that room and I saw the majority of the people in that room were agents, but they were older adults. And the look on everybody's face and I thought, you know what? I can't be the only one who's caring for my parent and who's dealing with, taking care and, having this. I didn't have any kids. I never had children, but I had my mom. And then, I cared for her up until she made her transition. And by the grace of God, I was able to care for her at home with us.
Yeah.
With
That's
us.
awesome, yeah.
And not take her, she didn't have to go to a home and she didn't have to go. That was just by the grace of God.
Yeah, for sure.
So I went back to my coach and I said, this is the next thing I'm going to be doing. And so I went and took that core with that breakout session. Then I went and got certified as a senior real estate SRS. I got
that might have been
SRS.
like Tim and Julie were some teachers at the time as well on that.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
some other
exactly.
great coaches as well.
Yeah. So I got certified as SRES, that's Senior Real Estate Specialist, for those of you who are wondering what that acronym is, right? A Senior Real Estate Specialist. Then,
Because we just want to learn how to take care of ourselves.
You know?
right, exactly. That's exactly right. So after getting that designation, I thought, the best way to master this is to teach it,
Yeah.
right? Mm-hmm. So I went to the National Association of Realtors and I said, what do you have to do to become a teacher for SRES? They said, we need more teachers. So I then took the course for the instructor, and I got my certification to be a teacher. So then I started teaching SRES live, and it was a 2-day course, 8 hours each day. And I'll never forget, because the course I went to was in person as well, but it was so boring. And I thought, gotta bring some life into
Yeah,
this
you gotta
thing.
bring
We gotta shake it up. We gotta get some. Yeah, we gotta. And you know what? What I learned from having a radio show, and that radio show came off the tail end of that short sale stuff. So I got approached by a guy that was building networks, because they were trying to influence the country in different markets, how to recover from this market that we had just come out of. And they knew I was heavily involved in short sales, so they offered me the position to be a radio host.
Oh, wow.
And so I did my radio show. And
I told you he was famous.
Yeah.
oh,
Killing it.
She's humble, so she'll deny it. But that's,
no, it's all divine.
Yeah.
It's all divine.
For sure.
I'm not running it at all.
Yeah, at all.
Okay?
I agree.
So we had the radio show, and then we had the SRES, and then I got, whatever they give you so you can teach the course. Then, and like I said, that course that I attended to get my designation, my SRES, it was kind of dry. It was dry, and the teacher is an amazing person. She was lovely, actually, but it was dry. And I said, I think I could do this. I think I could do this. And the reason why I felt like I could do it is because I was caring for my mom, and I had stories. Then I started to have clients who were also going through the aging process. And then I had agents who were also dealing with clients who were dealing with this aging thing. And so you not only have clients, but you have your own family.
Yeah.
So it's very near and dear to your heart, because
and a big thing in the market right now.
and it's huge.
Yeah, the opportunities coming up to help people in that situation,
It's
and the
huge.
need to help them.
That's right. You see, and not everybody can do this.
Yeah.
You really have to have compassion in your heart to be able to be a listener, a good listener, and really be observant, because there are a lot of things to look out for. So what would happen at that SRES 2-day course, we had, I think it was 12 chapters of information. It was a lot. And most people would come out of that course and they'd go, okay, so now what do we do? How do we implement this into our business? Like this, all this information is fantastic, but what do we do to implement this into our day-to-day operation? So I started working on putting together a program. And I literally, it took me about a year, because I worked with a ghostwriter too. We didn't have AI, we didn't have chat we got it now, but anyway.
You had OPI, other people's intelligence.
We had OPI. I like that, OPI.
That just came to me. I don't know where it came from.
But it's real.
It's real, yeah.
OPI.
Absolutely, yep.
We've got to coin that one, perhaps.
Oh, it's already done. It's there,
So we had other people's, intelligence, and they helped me to, every week I would meet with them and I would tell them what I was doing and what I was experiencing and what kind of cases I was dealing with my clients and what was going on with my mother. And then my brother took ill, and then he had not had a colonoscopy ever in his life. He was 74. I took him to get a colonoscopy and we discovered a huge tumor, and it's malignant. And he's got to have an immediate surgery. Next thing you know, they're giving him 6 months to live. And I mean, all of this is happening while
it's
I'm
all is part of life.
all of
we
this
all
is
know,
happening.
Yeah.
And so all these experiences, I just keep canning them. I just keep, putting them in the can, because somebody's going to learn from this. Mm-hmm. I'm going to share this, and stories. This is how we educate people, through stories and through experiences and through things. So I brought my brother in. That was my second, and then his situation was completely different from my mom. So you see, this is the dynamic of what happens with the 50-plus market.
Yeah.
Every scenario is going to be different.
Yeah.
With my brother, he had an illness he was dealing with. My mom didn't have an illness. She was gracefully aging. And she lived to be 93 years old. But she had a little bit of a stroke, and then she didn't really recover well from that stroke. And she was ready to go, We'd done everything we could do to make her comfortable, and
So you obviously have a lot of wisdom to share with agents who are thinking about what their next move is and what they want to do.
Sure.
Also, I've heard a couple of rumors of some upcoming, a major accomplishment and an upcoming event that's going on.
Well, it's a very interesting story. I had a $4.2 million transaction that I recently closed.
How much?
4.2 million.
Awesome.
Yeah, in Malibu. What was very interesting about that is that these are clients that I represented in 2020, in the heat of the pandemic, who bought their first home. They didn't have good credit. They didn't have the down payment. Their first home was actually priced at $1,150,000, and we ended up getting it. I mean, it was a long process because the sellers weren't moving off their price. My buyer really couldn't afford the house, but we worked with his father. His father wanted to get his money out of the stock market because it was tanking.
Right.
So he pulled out about $800,000, and he gifted it to his son. Anyway, there's certain things that are confidential, obviously.
Yeah.
Right? So, make a long story short, they were able to buy their first home. This is a young couple, well under 35. Their first home.
In a very pricey market.
In a very pricey market.
Yeah.
And we got the seller to carry back the difference. So the dad put the most of it down, the kid had some to put down, and the seller carried the difference. And he was able to close the deal, and then this house was in the fire zone. I don't know if you heard about the Malibu fires.
Yeah.
It was in that fire zone, so there were certain now new guidelines with the city of Malibu that said, you can't do this if you don't have this much square footage, and you can't do that, and da-da-da-da.
So a lot of red tape and hoops.
Yeah.
A lot of red tape, a lot of hoops, and he ended up going through the proper hoops, but he rehabilitated this property. Never was intending to move. It was just him and his wife, and they were going to have a baby. He already had a previous child. Make a long story short, they fixed the house up. It was amazing. And one day, on a Sunday, the husband, driving home, sees the open house sign. And he says, he's always checking the neighborhood to see what's going on. And sure enough, he stopped at this house and he said, wow, I got to call my wife, got to get her down here. She came to see it, and she claimed it. This is where, I talk a lot about mindset. And I taught these kids way back when I was representing them. Your house will find you. But you got to be super clear about what you want. You got to write it down, and you got to be very specific.
Yeah.
All the way down to the room count, the square footage, the location, everything. Write it down. And sure enough, this gal had written down everything, and that house was the house. Now, I get the call. I don't even know that they've stopped and seen an open house. I get the call, and it's like, Toni, we got to have this house. Please look at the house and tell us, what do we need to do to get this house? Well, So I'm thinking, okay, well, we got to sell the first house because we're going to need those proceeds to. There was over $1 million worth of equity.
Wow.
In the first house now.
Well, congratulations.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, over $1 million worth of equity that had.
So Toni goes deep with her clients.
Yeah.
And gets them what they need.
Nurture them, yeah.
But
wow.
there's one other thing I heard's coming up in the future. In the near future, just rumors about it and stuff.
I can't imagine what you could be saying. Okay. Is he gonna make me go there? So, I have nothing to hide about my age, right? I'm 66. I've never had children. And I've never been married, ever. And somewhere, out of the blue, here comes Mr. Right.
Yeah.
So, yes, by the time this gets finished, I will be a married woman.
Awesome. Congratulations.
So I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful. And my...
See, all 18, 19-year-old, 21-year-olds, you don't need to rush.
No, you don't need to
yeah.
rush.
When the time's
Matter of
right,
fact,
the time's right.
I encourage everybody, explore your life.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot.
Yeah,
to
you've had an
explore.
amazing life.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so everybody's got to find their own path, what is right for them, and not
That's
try
right.
to be somebody else.
Yeah.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, it's important. It's important for you to get clarity.
Some of us learn that earlier than others.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think last week I started figuring it out.
I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah, amen.
I am. I'm still trying to, okay, so now, and I'll tell you something. As realtors, I hope I can slip this in, but as realtors, we need to have an exit strategy. We never had an exit strategy. As realtors all these years, we just work until we can't work anymore.
Yeah, but this guy, Glenn Sanford, I think kind of solved that problem, didn't
Man, I tell you, that is
This is
recent.
not a commercial, but...
No, this is not a commercial. But I will tell you that it had everything to do with where I'm at in my life today.
Yeah, amen.
I was in my 60s, and I said, what am I going to do? I don't want to sling real estate at 70.
Right.
That's what I said to myself.
Right.
But what are you going to do, Toni? And what's realistic as far as being able to build wealth? I had bought a building over the years, and I did a seller financing on my apartment building. Because as realtors, we can hardly qualify for financing.
Yeah.
Because we're 1099.
1099, yeah.
And, we write everything off. So it's very
So banks are
interesting.
dumb anyway. But
And banks are dumb, yeah. So,
sorry, race.
but at any rate, we need to be thinking about what our exit strategy is. And this company is the only company that is giving us a platform this strong that gives us the realistic roadmap to getting there.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful. I'm excited. I'm excited that my husband is going to be with me, and that we can, he came out of a different business, right? But he still knows sales.
Yeah.
And he still understands people.
Yeah.
So one last thing for me before we wrap this up, and Joshua may have something, is so everybody thinks we're here in Vegas and we're having fun and we're just doing it, which is awesome, catching up with some great people.
Yeah.
But I understand that somebody in our group put an offer under contract today.
Oh, yeah, I did.
While he's here in Vegas.
I did,
so we got that done.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Someone
Thank
else
you.
got
a listing
coming
in
out.
Vegas. Yeah.
While
Right
she's
here in
sitting here,
Vegas.
people
That's
calling her up
crazy.
saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, you come tomorrow?"
I
And,
couldn't believe it. I said, right here, matter of fact, I got two. One is a listing for sure, and the other one, they're contacting, waiting to talk to me. So I'll see. But
That's
congratulations.
awesome.
So
Thank you.
these events are not cheap. It's
No.
an investment in your career.
That's right.
But he just paid for his investment.
There you
Yeah,
go.
it's worth it. It's worth every
Oh,
moment
that's
of
awesome.
it. Yeah. it
And
is.
that's down in Georgia?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, that's so exciting.
Yeah, just get it started. Continue to go. Like I said, I feel like, I know I'm in a career that I'll be doing for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And my goal is to provide that value to my community. And doing stuff like this and bringing important people onto our podcast is
key.
is what matters the most, because this valuable information, and you actually inspire others to chase a dream if they are struggling with the same things that you have been
And this
through.
face-to-face, you'll learn more than you probably learn in any class or any book you look
Yeah.
at.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And this is how I learned.
Yeah.
I learned from other colleagues who had been down this road before me, and we shared. That is probably one of the most powerful things about EXP, is it's the collaboration.
Yeah.
I've never had collaboration on a high level.
Yeah.
No, there's no pretentious anybody in here. Everybody is giving. Everybody's operating from their heart, and they want you to do well.
Yes.
Where can you go where everybody wants you to win?
Yeah.
We all want each other to win. So, and we're global.
Yeah, and next up we got Nolly Williams.
Oh, man.
And making a little announcement
Yeah,
about
for
a friend of
sure.
mine that's coming on board the EXP. So,
Really?
Yeah.
So we're excited.
Oh,
So-
wow.
So Ms. Toni, I have one more question for you. How can the people get in contact with you?
Well, that's a great question. You can reach me. I'm all over social media, so it's Toni Patillo. So at Toni Patillo will get you to all my platforms. I also have a website. It's tonipatillo.com.
Okay.
So you can probably see the spelling of my name somewhere on the monitor here. TONI and PATILLO.com.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
the best way. Or they can DM me on social media, or
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Toni, for coming. Again, the Dream Builders podcast, our mission is to help buyers, sellers, agents, and small businesses connect with the resources and knowledge to achieve their goals. This podcast is sponsored by Page Properties Team, TheDream E.N.T, Make Real Estate Fun Again, and Real Estate for a Reason. I hope to catch you on the next episode. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for just the time, the knowledge. Yeah, it really means a lot.
And you're going to come to Savannah and visit, maybe share some of your
will.
wisdom. So we'll
Yeah.
get that
I
set
will.
up.
I will. I would love that.
Oh, I'm chills. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
Thank you.
For sure.
Thank you for
Y'all
having
be
me.
blessed, and I'll catch you on the next episode.
Okay.
Peace.